NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better. By AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by proud sponsor of NASCAR.
107 of 500 laps complete. Brian Vickers leading. A.J. Allmendinger, Jeff Gordon, Martin Truex, and Jeff Burton. Now here is what Vickers told his team just before they rolled off the grid today.
Okay, I really appreciate all the hard work this week. It'll be a really good race car. It's a long race. I'll do the best I can for you out here, and I know you'll do the same for me. Thanks again, guys.
Time for an AT&T race break with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible, and glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox on the Food City 500 from Bristol, Tennessee. Brian Vickers, and it's quite a story, Michael Waltrip. Of course, Michael Waltrip Racing giving him the opportunity along with your other drivers. Here's a guy who had heart surgery in 2010, was without a ride at the end of last year, and certainly showed that appreciation. Right now, it's amazing not only to be in a car, but to be leading a race.
Yeah, but he's fit. This cat's been all about racing cars. He's been out, and I tell you, Chris, when you don't have a ride, it just makes you hungrier. When I talked to him, I said, we're going to be thankful, we're going to be gracious, we're going to be humble about this opportunity, and we're going to go show people that Brian Vickers belongs in NASCAR.
Hey, Mikey, who's this remind you of? Remember when I got a phone call from a certain fella who wanted me to drive his car? People said, why'd you pick him? You got a phone call from a certain fella said wanted to drive your car, and everybody said, why'd you pick him? He never won a race. How about Brian Vickers?
It's the same story, Darrell. You give a guy that's got the talent of a kid like Brian Vickers a chance in a car like Rodney Childers puts together, you're going to go prove some things, and I think Brian's doing that right now.
And 2 Sprint Cup wins, 60 races since he did last win, and that was at Michigan. As we check the field with Vickers, then Allmendinger, Jeff Gordon. Speaking of streaks, Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds talking about how he had to work his way through the field not too long ago. 116 races since his last win.
Yeah, Burton's coming too, buddy. That car works down on the bottom. Darrell said it right. You've got to work on the bottom. That's how Vickers got the lead. While everybody else was up next to the wall dealing with traffic, they went where they were. You got to go where they ain't, and that's what Vickers was able to do. Rodney Childers giving Vickers some information there.
And we have a car in the wall. Bringing out the second caution of this race. Let's head back upstairs to Mike Jewell.
Thanks, Chris. The 32 went up and into the wall hard. Ken Schrader.
To see how the drivers are doing in the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge, you can text FAST to 34763 or visit AT&TFastestDriver.com.
Caution out for the second time, and the Frank Stoddard car pretty well destroyed. A hard hit for the veteran Missouri driver.
I think he lost the right front tire. You'll see it right there. Tire went down straight into the.
Darrell, one thing that will happen here is you create a lot of brake heat and you'll cook the bead on that right front tire.
Happened to Kyle Busch yesterday in the nationwide race.
Pit road is open. Dick.
Brian Vickers is very pleased with his car, saying, I like it. The only issue they're faced with, Mike, is the engine is heating more than they'd like. So they're going to try to get some tape off the nose to cool it down. There it goes. Krista.
Dick, A.J. Allmendinger says he feels comfortable rather than confused like he has in the past at this track. He says, I still need more forward drive off. Matt?
And Brad Keselowski making his way to his pit stall 7th. He says the car needs a little bit more help. Really tight in the center, needs more grip. Steve?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that his car has gotten tight in the center, which ruins his momentum and his exit. They've made an air pressure adjustment to the 88. Let's see if they take 4 tires, and they will. They'll change all 4 for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Long way around pit road. Brian Vickers exits ahead of A.J. Allmendinger. Dave Blaney will get the free pass.
In the time of that caution, it pretty much put every driver where you can see right here, 4 tires for everybody.
Caution at lap 117. Brian Vickers retains the lead. Ready to go green after Ken Schrader's crash and clean up. Dave Blaney is the Aaron's lucky dog on this caution flag. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. It'll be Brian Vickers, A.J. Allmendinger. Up front, Jeff Burton there with Jeff Gordon. Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr. We're back under green. 26 cars on the lead lap at Bristol.
Got to watch it right there. Allmendinger's got to really watch out when he moves up. He's got enough room to move up in front of Burton in the 31. So that was all timed out very well.
Now it's Jeff Gordon who can't find a spot in the outside groove. Side by side with Earnhardt. Will Junior give him room? Nope. He's going to battle him. Oh boy.
Junior battled him a little too hard right there, and the car got a little loose, wiggled with him, and that opened the door for Jeff from the 24 to get by. Comes Keselowski on the bottom.
It was almost an opening up the middle for Matt Kenseth, who wisely saw it wouldn't be an opening for long. And Burton goes to the bottom on Allmendinger, second place.
Burton's got a pretty good old hot rod today, guys. He's been up there all the race so far and looking pretty racy.
Jeff Burton told me this morning, with the rain this morning, it's all about what you put under the car at the start of the race. You're only going to be able to make minute adjustments. If you got a good package to start, you can get to the front.
And something that you can adjust on and start taking back out as this racetrack gets back to where it was yesterday.
Well, Burton, those first 31 and 24 both, I watched them in practice yesterday. They worked hard on making their cars roll the bottom of the racetrack. That's what it's going to take to get by some of these guys.
126 laps in, our Dodge Chargers of the race. A.J. Allmendinger second, Brad Keselowski fifth. Both Dodges from Roger Penske's stable in the top 5. There's Brad looking right through the middle of one of those fast closing holes between Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton.
There you see Brad won the last time we were here back in the fall of last year.
And you run so close together that when you're down on the bottom and the guy's got his nose in there, there's not a lot of room for error. I mean, if you happen to wiggle a little bit or move up this a little bit more than he anticipates, you're going to make contact.
Pole sitter Greg Biffle at 8th. Jimmy Johnson at 9th, Matt.
And Mike, before that stop, Jimmy was saying he needed more help in the center of the corner. The car was just too tight. Chad Knaus is telling him what DW has talked about so many times. Back up your corner. Get out of the gas early. Try to let it float to the corner. And one comment that Jimmy said, racing today reminds him of racing at Darlington. So many guys are just floating it in up by the wall and arguing it to get a run off the corner.
Up at second place, Johnson's teammate Jeff Gordon. There with A.J. Allmendinger, and Keselowski has the best seat in the house for that one.
Well, there you have two drivers, the 24 Jeff Gordon, 85 career wins, A.J. Allmendinger, the 22, trying to get his first career win.
Marcus Ambrose in the 9, back in the race, 106 laps down.
Jeff's in a Penske sandwich right now.
Yeah. But the group behind is not catching them, so they're free to battle here.
We saw Jeff in his position a little earlier in the race. He ended up yielding after a while. I think he may do that here again.
They're watching Brad Keselowski in the 2. It looks like, especially on fresh tires, as you can see, he clears Jeff Gordon in the 24 as he goes after his teammate, and he really drove it down in there. His car is good on the bottom with fresh tires, and then he'll start moving it up the racetrack as he gets into a run.
They made some good adjustments to that car on the last round of pit stops.
So now Dale Earnhardt Jr. closes in, as does Jeff Burton, trying to get under the Dodge of A.J. Allmendinger, the 22.
Yeah, Junior had a great run here yesterday. He finished 5th, and I think that's one thing I'd like to see Junior do. I wouldn't mind seeing him running some of those Saturday races. Get some more track time. Learn a lot about these tires and what's going to happen on Sunday.
Still our leader and well out front, Brian Vickers in the number 55 Toyota. He's 2.5 seconds out in front of what has been a strong battle for second place. Now decided in favor of Brad Keselowski, then Jeff Gordon, then this 3-wide battle, or 3-car battle. Now Junior underneath Allmendinger with Burton in tow.
Vickers got a little bit in the bank. He's about half a tenth to a tenth quicker than the second place car.
Talk about a fellow who's made his own luck. Brad Keselowski narrowly avoided damage in that wreck at lap 23. Watch the number 2. He was right there from the start of it. As Kane got up into Regan Smith, a little bump from Keselowski, and woo.
Timed that I mean, he couldn't have timed it any better.
And now he's in second place. While most of those other cars are in the garage.
Got to have some lady luck on your side when you come to this joint.
Yeah, Brad had that top 5 run at Phoenix a couple of weeks ago and looked like he was maybe even going to be in a position to contend for the win late in the race at Las Vegas, and had the fuel pump issue with about 15 or 20 laps to go.
How surprised are you, Darrell, that Brian Vickers, first time in a Cup car this year, is leading this race and well out front?
You know what I felt good about when I talked to Brian? He and his crew chief, Rodney Childers, they are old buddies. Rodney worked on Brian's go-kart when Brian was 8 years old. I say it over and over again, and Hammond will tell you, Larry will tell you, the driver and the crew chief, when they got that chemistry, they can really do magic in a race car.
And he just happened to be the odd man out at the end of 2011 heading into 2012. But he made the commitment, I'm not just going to climb in any race car. He waited till the phone rang from someone like Michael Waltrip.
Take you back to 8th place. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Greg Biffle in the 16. How about our pole sitter, Steve?
Well, Mike, what's happened to Greg Biffle? He says on a restart, his car starts off tight, but then it gradually comes to him. So he's just trying to get that car worked in.
Yeah, Steve, that's the observation that Darrell and I was making. You know, he goes for a couple laps, but then just like on that very first run, he starts fading just a little bit.
And that's almost the history of a pole car. A car that sits on the pole. That thing was fast for one lap, got me on the pole, and now I'm in a dilemma. I don't know whether to change the car up a little bit or do I leave it alone fast. He maybe should have worked on it a little bit.
Matt Kenseth is coming, and he powers his Ford past Dale Earnhardt Jr. to move up into the top 5. Kenseth started 21st.
Matt looking for a good run here today. It's been a bit of a bumpy road for him since he won the Daytona 500 about a month ago.
And I looked at that wreck from Vegas last week, and quite honestly, Casey Kane was, if there was a problem with what happened at the end of that race, when Casey went by Kenseth on the outside off turn 2, it sucked the back of that 17 car around. I know they were clustered, but when the 5 went by on the outside, that's what got him.
Yeah, all 3 Roush Fenway cars right there at the end of the race. Ending up in a wad. Here is Brian Vickers, now 1.6 seconds ahead of Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, A.J. Allmendinger, and Matt Kenseth.